Part 4. The captain came over to the drop hole and gave Montag a questioning glance. "I was just figuring," said Montag. "What does the Hound think about down there nights? Is it coming alive on us? Really? It makes me cold. It doesn't think anything we don't want it to think." "That's sad," said Montag quietly, "because all we put into it is hunting and finding and killing. What a shame if that's all it can ever know." Beatty snorted gently. "Hell, it's a fine bit of craftsmanship. A good rifle that can fetch its own target and guarantees the bull's eye every time." "That's why," said Montag, "I wouldn't want to be its next victim." "Why, you got a guilty conscience about something?" Montag glanced up swiftly. Beatty stood there looking at him steadily with his eyes, while his mouth opened and began to laugh, very softly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. And as many times he came out of the house and Clarice was there somewhere in the world. Once he saw her shaking a walnut tree. Once he saw her sitting on the lawn knitting a blue sweater. 3 or 4 times he found a bouquet of late flowers on his porch, or a handful of chestnuts and a little snack, and some autumn leaves neatly pinned to a white sheet of paper and thumbtacked to his door. Every day Clarice walked him to the corner. One day it was raining, the next it was clear. The day after that the wind blew strong, and the next it was clear. The day after that, the calm day, was a day like the furnace of summer, and Clarice with her face all sunburnt by late afternoon. "Why is it," he said, one time at the subway entrance, "I feel I've known you so many years?" "Because I like you," she said, "and I don't want anything from you, and because we know each other. You make me feel very old and very much like a father." "Now you explain," she said, "why you haven't any daughters like me if you love children so much." "I don't know." "You're joking." "I mean, well, my wife, she just never wanted any children at all." The girl stopped smiling. "I'm sorry. I really thought you were having fun at my expense. I'm a fool." "No, no," he said. "It was a good question. It's been a long time since anyone cared enough to ask. A good question. Let's talk about something else. Have you ever smelled old leaves? Don't they smell like cinnamon? Here, smell." "Why, yes, it is like cinnamon in a way." He looked at him with his clear dark eyes. "You always seem shocked." "It's just I haven't had time." "Did you look at the stretched out billboards like I told you?" "I think so, yes." He had to laugh. "Your laugh sounds much nicer than it did." "Does it?" "Much more relaxed." He felt at ease and comfortable. "Why aren't you in school? I see you every day wandering around." "Oh, they don't miss me," she said. "I'm antisocial, they say." "I don't mix." "It's so strange." "I'm very social indeed. It all depends on what you mean by social, doesn't it? Social to me means talking to you about things like this." She rattled some chestnuts that had fallen off the tree in the front yard. "Or talking about how strange the world is. Being with people is nice, but I don't think it's social to get a bunch of people together and then not let them talk, do you? An hour of TV class, an hour of basketball or baseball or running, another hour of transcription, history, or painting pictures, and more sports. But do you know, we never ask questions? Or at least most don't. They just run the answers at you, bing, 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 and us sitting there for 4 more hours of film teacher. That's not social to me at all. It's a lot of funnels and a lot of water poured down the spout and out the bottom, and them telling us it's wine when it's not. They run us so ragged by the end of the day we can't do anything but go to bed or head for a fun park to bully people around, break window panes in the window smasher place and wreck cars in the car wrecker place with the big steel ball, or go out in the cars and race on the streets trying to see how close you can get to lampposts, playing chicken and knock hubcaps. I guess I'm everything they say I am, all right. I haven't any friends. That's supposed to prove I'm abnormal. But everyone I know is either shouting or dancing around like wild or beating up one another. Do you notice how people hurt each other nowadays?" "You sound so very old." "Sometimes I'm ancient. I'm afraid of children my own age. They kill each other. Did it always used to be that way? My uncle says no. 6 of my friends have been shot in the last year alone. 10 of them died in car wrecks. I'm afraid of them, and they don't like me because I'm afraid. My uncle says his grandfather remembered when children didn't kill each other, but that was a long time ago, when they had things different. They believed in responsibility, my uncle says. Do you know I'm responsible? I was spanked when I needed it, years ago, and I do all the shopping and house cleaning by hand. But most of all, she said, I like to watch people. Sometimes I ride the subway all day and look at them and listen to them. I just want to figure out who they are and what they want and where they're going. Sometimes I even go to the fun parks and ride in the jet cars when they race on the edge of town at midnight, and the police don't care as long as they're insured. As long as everyone has 10,000 insurance, everyone's happy. Sometimes I sneak around and listen in subways, or I listen at soda fountains. And do you know what? What? People don't talk about anything. Oh, they must. No, not anything. They name a lot of cars or clothes or swimming pools mostly, and say how swell. But they all say the same things, and nobody says anything different from anyone else. And most of the time, in the caves, they have the joke boxes on, and the same jokes most of the time, or the musical wall lit and all the colored patterns running up and down. But it's okay color, and all abstract, and at the museums. Have you ever been? All abstract. That's all there is now. My uncle says it was different once. A long time back, sometimes pictures said things or even showed people. Your uncle said, your uncle said, your uncle must be a remarkable man. He is. He certainly is. Well, I gotta be going. Goodbye, Mr. Montag. Goodbye. Goodbye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. The firehouse. Montag, you shine that pole like a bird up a tree. 3rd day. Montag, I see you came in the back door this time. The hound bother you? No, no. 4th day. Montag, a funny thing. Heard tell this morning. Fireman in Seattle purposely set a mechanical hound to his own chemical complex and let it loose. What kind of suicide would you call that? 5, 6, 7 days. And then Clarice was gone. He didn't know what there was about the afternoon, but it was not seeing her somewhere in the world. The lawn was empty, the trees empty, the street empty, and while at first he did not even know he missed her or was looking for her, the fact was that by the time he reached the subway, there were vague stirrings of disease in him. Something was the matter. His routine had been disturbed. A simple routine, true, established in a short few days, and yet he almost turned back to make the walk again, to give her time to appear. He was certain if he tried the same route, everything would work out fine. But it was late, and the arrival of his train put a stop to his plan. The flutter of cards, motion of hands, of eyelids, the drone of the time voice in the firehouse ceiling. 1:35, Thursday morning, November 4th. 1:36, 1:37 a.m. The tick of the playing cards on the greasy tabletop, all the sounds came to Montag. Behind his closed eyes, behind the barrier he had momentarily erected, he could feel the firehouse full of glitter and shine and silence, of brass colors, the colors of coins, of gold, of silver. The unseen men across the table were sighing on their cards, waiting. 1:45, the voice clocked, moaned out the cold hour of a cold morning of a still colder year. What's wrong, Montag? Montag opened his eyes. A radio hummed somewhere. War may be declared any hour. This country stands ready to defend it. The firehouse trembled as a great flight of jet planes whistled a single note across the black morning sky. Montag blinked. Beatty was looking at him as if he were a museum statue. At any moment, Beatty might rise and walk about him, touching, exploring his guilt and self-consciousness. Guilt. What guilt was that? Your play, Montag? Montag looked at these men whose faces were sunburnt by 1,000 real and 10,000 imaginary fires, whose work flushed their cheeks and fevered their eyes. These men who looked steady into their platinum igniter flames as they lit their eternally burning black pipes. They and their charcoal hair and soot-covered brows and bluish ash-smeared cheeks they had shaven close, but their heritage showed. Montag started up, his mouth opened. Had he ever seen a fireman that didn't have black hair, black brows, a fiery face, and a blue steel shaved but unshaved look? These men were all mirror images of himself. Were all firemen picked, then, for their looks as well as their proclivities? The color of cinders and ash about them, and the continual smell of burning from their pipes? Captain Beatty there, rising in thunderheads of tobacco smoke. Beatty opening a fresh tobacco packet, crumbling the cellophane into a sound of fire. Montag looked at the cards in his own hand. I've been thinking about the fire last week, about the man whose library we fixed. What happened to him? They took him off screaming to the asylum. He wasn't insane. Beatty arranged his cards quietly. Any man's insane who thinks he can fool the government and us. I've tried to imagine, said Montag, just how it would feel. I mean, to have firemen burn our house and our books. We haven't any books. But if we did have some. You got some? Beatty blinked slowly. No, Montag gazed beyond them to the wall with the type lists of 1,000,000 forbidden books. Their names leapt in fire, burning down the years under his axe and his hose, which sprayed not water but kerosene. No, but in his mind a cool wind started up and blew out the ventilator grill at home, softly chilling his face, and again he saw himself in a green park talking to an old man, a very old man, and the wind from the park was cold, too. Montag hesitated. What, was it always like this? The firehouse, our work? I mean, well, once upon a time, Beatty said. What kind of talk is that? Fool, thought Montag to himself, you'll give it away. And at the last fire, a book of fairy tales, he glanced at a single line. I mean, he said, in the old days, before homes were completely fireproofed. Suddenly it seemed a much younger voice was speaking for him. He opened his mouth, and it was Clarice McClellan saying, didn't firemen prevent fires rather than stoke them up and get them going? That's rich. Stoneman and Black drew forth their rule books, which also contained brief histories of the firemen of America, and laid them out where Montag, though long familiar with them, might read. Established, 1790, to burn English-influenced books in the colonies. First fireman, Benjamin Franklin. Rule 1. Answer the alarm quickly. 2. Start the fire swiftly. 3. Burn everything. 4. Report back to firehouse immediately. 5. Stand alert for other alarms. Everyone watched Montag. He did not move. The alarm sounded. The bell in the ceiling kicked itself 200 times. Suddenly there were 4 empty chairs. The cards fell in a flurry of snow. The brass pole shivered. The men were gone. Montag sat in his chair. Below, the orange dragon coughed to life. Montag slid down the pole like a man in a dream. The mechanical hound leapt up in its kennel, its eyes all green flame. Montag, you forgot your helmet. He seized it off the wall behind him, ran, leapt, and they were off, the night wind hammering about their siren scream and their mighty metal thunder. I want you to take a minute here and think about some questions you might have about the character or something that you might wonder about this world that we're being introduced to. It's very similar to our own world. However, at the same time, we're learning some things about it, like the fact that books are prohibited, the fact that they're burnt if you have them. It just said that the firemen were created in 1790 to burn books, and yet they still have millions of them distributed across the country that they're burning daily. So think about some things that you might wonder and jot down some questions so that when we meet on Monday, we can talk about it. Thanks, guys.